Hey guys, Eckhart's Ladder here today to answer one of my most commonly asked questions, and it's not quite as common as do you think Rey slash Finn or Finn slash Poe are gonna bang at some point in the future, but it's almost there. And it's do you think Finn is Force sensitive? Do you think he's gonna be a Jedi at some point in the future? And instead of just saying outright what I think, let's go over all of the evidence both for him being a Jedi and against. And then at the end, I'll tell you guys what I think, but you can make your own determinations. So let's look at the pros first. And the first is that he's able to handle a lightsaber with some skill. And we haven't really seen that in Star Wars, a non-Jedi character, handling a lightsaber, besides for the brief moment when Han Solo did it to cut open that tauntaun, and that really was more using it like a tool than a weapon. Now we know that the lightsaber is primarily the tool of the Jedi, and of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 4 says that a lightsaber is a Jedi's weapon, more civilized than a blaster, but I think the more important question is not whether mostly Jedi use it, but whether a non-Jedi can use it. In Legends, it was extremely difficult for a non-Force sensitive or non-practiced lightsaber user to effectively use the weapon without killing itself, and that's a combination of things, often because of the weightlessness of the saber. You know, it was hard to account for that, but the same thing hasn't appeared in canon yet, and we don't know, basically, to what degree a non-Force sensitive person is able to use a lightsaber. I mean, we know Grievous could, but he was a cyborg, and I mean, he could use 4 at once, so I don't think his situation is really comparable to the average person. So I don't really see this one as going either way, and in fact, although we know that Finn hadn't previously trained with a lightsaber before using it, we know that he was extensively trained by the First Order, and that he was one of their top trainees, and he was, pegged for officer because he had such high marks in all areas. And I mean, we do know that stormtroopers do have some sort of training with melee weapons because Finn fights one who's got some sort of shock baton, and you'd think that touching a shock baton would be almost as unpleasant as touching a lightsaber, so I don't know, I think the skill could possibly be there without him having to be a Force sensitive, at least until we learn something more about how to handle, or the difficulty in handling a lightsaber in the current canon. Secondary to this point is the fact that, he did manage to fight Kylo Ren to some degree of success, and I don't know, maybe that does point towards him being Force sensitive, but I'm really not sure. Keep in mind that Kylo Ren had just been shot by a bowcaster right in his midsection, and we previously saw in the movie what kind of damage that can do to an individual. And I think it could be argued that he didn't really do that well against Kylo. I mean, he did get one shot in, but he lasted in total about less than a minute, and once he did get that hit in, Kylo Ren basically had no more of it, and he would have killed him if Rey hadn't been there. And this is kind of similar to in The Empire Strikes Back, where Luke, he's managing to hold off Darth Vader until he gets that one shot in the shoulder, and then literally 10 seconds later, Darth Vader cuts his hand off. But I mean, a lot of this point, and really the last point, comes down to how you think a non-Force sensitive person can operate a lightsaber. If you think it requires some sort of Force attunement to use the weapon, then the answer is obvious that Finn is going to be a Jedi, or he at least has the potential to be a Jedi, and he's Force sensitive. I personally, until I see something that changes my mind, I don't think that is necessary, and I do think it is kind of just a weapon like any other kind. And I mean, if he had been seen deflecting blaster bolts, that would be something else. And it's true that everyone has some degree of Force sensitivity, I think, but the question of whether you have enough to become a Jedi or not is a different one, and I just based on his use of the lightsaber, that doesn't convince me. I think there are other arguments that you can make too, based on just the structure of the films, both The Force Awakens and the future movies, and how Finn's been featured in marketing. If you remember back in one of the earlier trailers, one of the first trailers for The Force Awakens, the first shot of someone holding a lightsaber was Finn about to square off with Kylo Ren. The first shot of a good guy holding a lightsaber was Finn about to square off with Kylo Ren. But I think personally that was probably meant more as a red herring to distract from the fact that, hey, it's really Rey who is going to be the Jedi here. It's her who's the hero. You really also have to wonder whether the sequel trilogy wants to focus on having 2 Jedi of around the same age, kind of like the prequels, or, a younger Jedi and a Master, more like the original trilogy. I mean, I personally think that if he is sensitive, Rey is a much more powerful Force sensitive and much more likely person to be a Jedi, so I think it'd be kind of weird to have someone so obviously powerful able to, resist mind tricks and do mind tricks of her own, pull things with the Force and, fight off Kylo Ren, well, Finn is something in between. So I don't know, that leads me more to the side of him not being Force sensitive. So let's go back to the things that might work for Finn being a Jedi. And this is actually the last one I'm going to mention. An editor who worked on The Force Awakens fielded a question about how the movie seemed to kind of point towards Finn being a Jedi and then switch it and have Rey be the Jedi. And this is what she said. Finn is obviously very special, and he's special because he left the First Order. And then these two people, both Finn and Rey, are both very special. And she says that, she talked to someone who apparently knows Jedi stuff from Lucasfilm, presumably, and says there are different levels of Jedi. So, I'm not sure about this. Take it as you will. It's certainly not an official statement, but it is kind of interesting to know that one of the editors who worked on the movie, that's what they were told, and that's how they went about editing the movie. Okay, so let's take a look at the things pointing against Finn being a Jedi. And just for the record, I didn't mean to say that so far I've canvassed all the pros. These are just a few that I think are important. So if you think there's something I missed, post it down in the comments. But anyways, the things going against Finn being a Jedi, and number one, and I guess the kind of the funniest one, is that he appears in a list on the official Star Wars website, 13 great non-Jedi Star Wars heroes. And it says, Finn doesn't quite have a handle on how the Force works, but he proves he doesn't need it in order to save his friend from Starkiller Base. What he lacks in Force sensitivity, though he should take a class in lightsaber dueling, he makes up for in courage and dedication. So, that's pretty unequivocal there. Not only did he not use the Force in his fight against Kylo Ren, but he's not particularly Force sensitive. Although, to be fair, this could 100% be a lie, or, some intern could have wrote this, without checking with their boss, or the story could change in the future, but that's one thing certainly pointing against him being a Jedi. The second point, and this one is certainly less concrete than the previous one, is that, and especially recently, Star Wars has been trending towards the idea that not everyone has to be a Jedi to be a hero. And we see this in Rebels, we certainly saw this in Rogue One, and I don't know, I think it would be maybe a little bit of a cop-out on this idea to have someone who appears not to be Force sensitive appear now, or turn out to be Force sensitive afterwards. And I don't know, I think I kind of like Finn as a hardworking, everyday guy, kind of like Han Solo, who, although not Force sensitive, still manages to kick a ton of ass. And I think that kind of endears the audience to his character more so than, he had the Force all along would. Because, we saw the complaints that some people, not me personally, but some people had with Daisy kind of having the Force out of nowhere. So I think if we had that with both Finn and Rey, that would be a bit of a problem. But I just think the biggest thing, all in all, is that there's no evidence that he's Force sensitive. He held Kylo Ren off for about a minute, and, he didn't do bad in his duel, but he wasn't able to defeat, a regular stormtrooper with a stun baton. Often people will, harness the Force in really stressful moments like that, kind of like Rey did. You have someone speak out to you, you've got the ghost of Obi-Wan or whatever speak out to you, or you think of Maz Kanata, but nothing happened like that for him. I don't know, the lack of any sort of evidence, based on the fact that personally I don't want him to be Force sensitive. I want him to be just a hard-working, really badass, normal person. Along with the quote I mentioned from the Star Wars website earlier, that all leads me to believe personally that Finn is not Force sensitive and that he will not be a Jedi. I think Luke is probably going to focus on training one student from now on, and it's going to be Rey. But of course, just my opinions. We'll have a better idea by the end of episode 8. I think we'll probably know for sure either way, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be Force sensitive. I don't think he's going to turn out to be a Jedi. But I still think he's going to do some badass stuff, and I still think he's going to kick a lot of ass, maybe kill some bad guys, maybe, get in a fist fight with Phasma or something. And because I think Rey as a Jedi would just kick Phasma's ass, so Finn, maybe that'll be a better duel. But anyways, and I think it's actually kind of setting up to that. They got a bit of a rivalry going on. She doesn't like him. He doesn't like her. Anyways, though, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think Force sensitive? And if yes, do you think he will be a Jedi Knight? And also, do you want him to be? For me, all three are answered as no, but I don't know what you guys think. So this has been Eckhart's Ladder. I love you guys very much. May the Force be with you.